Right. First, I want to thank the grace of heaven and the virtues of the masters, the mercy and of the grand predecessors, transmitting masters, and everyone here. This is actually a continuation. Well, yeah, I did start this. I forget. It's a few months ago, and then I just want to finish it, and then there are a few other things. Okay, so these are just, you can say, guidance words of guidance from mostly it's from Holy Teacher, right, Jigong Buddha. Okay, so. We won't do the Chinese part, we'll do the translation here. So here he's talking about sincerity, right? What is sincerity? Right? Basically saying our words and our actions have to match, or what's in our mind and what we say must match. Okay, so that's sincere, right? So we don't say one thing, but we're thinking something else, or we say one thing and do something else, right? So that's not sincere. So sincerity, it has to all match. It's the same. It's one. So if what we say is different from what we think, then we are not sincere. There will be many hindrances in what we do, and we will not succeed. Okay. So obviously, sincerity, right? So when we're dealing with people, we have to be sincere. If we say things and then we don't do it, then there's no trust, right? We lose trust. Okay. So mundane affairs are all very competitive. Many times running into a brick wall, right? We are not willing to accept a loss, but we will definitely suffer a setback or humiliation. So again, this all has to do with us not being sincere, right? We should not feel that suffering a setback or loss, like we've been wrong. We felt like we've been, yeah. Actually, we are paying off our sins. So, yeah, Holy Teacher is saying, no one likes to be. Lose anything, right? We want to gain. We tend to want to gain things as human nature. That's human nature. We like to gain things, we not lose things. But what Holy Teacher is saying that, losses or setbacks, those are good for us, right? On one hand, you can say, so this is so Buddha's point of view is always different, right? Always looking positive, and so these are eliminating our sins, or paying off our debts. Disciples' personality mostly is competitive in speech and attitude. The more competitive we are, the more we will experience hard knocks in relation to others, right? So, we have that competitive attitude. Well, competitive attitude is not bad in itself. It's just how we apply it, I guess. If we are competitive, that means we have that competitive spirit. We can push ourselves, right, to do more, or to be better. So that's good. But then, when we're dealing with others and we're being too competitive, then you can have friction and conflict. Okay, so that's not good, right? But so it should be inward. Okay. So we will continue to experience hard knocks until we willingly change ourselves. And then we will have passed the test. So life is full of, you can say tests, these various types of tests, right? It could be tests of this nature, or it could be tests where, things are going very well for us. Those could also be tests, right? We shouldn't let these things affect us, affect our, willingness to cultivate, okay? A lot of times, sometimes we encounter maybe we hear someone said something to us, whether it's outside or even in the temple, that maybe offended us. Then we say, I don't want to come back to the temple anymore. Who's going to lose when we do that? We ourselves, because we're not. We're first of all, we're letting this external thing affect us internally, right? Just we heard earlier about these 5 skandhas. We shouldn't let those affect us. And then we're not going to be able to, basically we're regressing in our cultivation. So we shouldn't let those things affect us. No matter what, we should always come to the temple. And basically we have to refine ourselves, change ourselves, right? Our attitude, our way of viewing things. And don't let those things bother us. And then and the other aspect of it is, they're helping us to, if we can accept these situations and not get angry or not be offended, then we have basically reduced some of our karmic debts. Okay, So that's a good thing. Okay, but so if we don't change, then we will experience the same types of problems to test us. So yeah, if these are tests, then unless we pass, we're going to keep getting these tests, the same tests over and over again. So again, we have to look, take that long-term view and see that, well, I don't want to deal with it now, but then we're going to have to deal with it later. So we should deal with it in the right way now. Okay, so it says, yeah, this is an unchanging law. This is the law of existence, really. Okay, so because everyone who is born in this world has their lessons to learn, right? But if we do not cultivate well, then we will have to continue to cultivate in the next life, right? So if we don't learn the lessons in this life, we're going to have to come back in a future life to learn those lessons, right? So everyone is here to learn their lessons. And it could be different lessons for different people because our karma is different, our affinity is all different. But we have to learn, okay? We have to learn those lessons and treat everything, every situation as kind of like a lesson and a test, if you will. And then so see how we can pass. We can pass by, we follow the principles that we learn here, learn the way the Buddhas, follow their way to deal with it, and then we can pass. Okay. All right. Okay, so here says, we must perform merits and establish vows to pay off our sins and karmic debts. If we do not, then we will still be burdened by our sins and karmic debts. They continue to haunt us. Okay, same thing. We all have debts, karmic debts, sins. 60,000 years of reincarnation, who knows how much we've accumulated. And so we definitely have to pay off. That's why it's the universal law of justice, right? It's very fair, if you will. It's that anything that we do, we're accountable for, okay? Whether it's in this life or past lives, we're still accountable for it. So we still have to pay it off. So that's being absolutely fair to everyone, right? So yeah. So how do we pay it off? We have to perform merits, do good deeds, right? And establish, build up, work on our vow. Pay off. Establish. It should be established. Sorry. Li Yan. Okay, right. Establish vows. So the vows will help us. It's like setting a goal, right? Set a goal for us to achieve something. And for example, or like a vegetarian vow, right? That will help us. Well, first of all, that allows us to cut off. We don't create more karmic debts with sentient beings. Okay. So that's then if we can do that, then we can accumulate merits. Because if we're performing good deeds, accumulating some merit, well, quote unquote, accumulating merits, but if we're still like killing sentient beings essentially when we're eating meat, then it kind of erases that. So then we're not really accumulating any merits. Okay, so that's why it's very important that although we don't, you're not forced to become vegetarian, but we definitely should work our way towards that goal. Okay, to become vegetarian. All right. So we are born in this world because of our vows. So we must fulfill our vows before we can return home. Right? Now, you could say most people are born because of karma, okay? That we have some karma. And those who have vows, like bodhisattvas, they can make vows to come to this world, to be born into this world, or Buddhas, they make vows to come to this world basically for the benefit of trying to save sentient beings. Okay, so maybe some of us are also. Actually, we all made vows originally. This is who knows when, how many kalpas ago that when we first came into this world that we made vows. Yeah, we would for one, our vow was to return back to heaven. But then we kind of forgot. Okay, we got too comfortable in this world that we forgot to return home. So, but we have other vows that we make in this world as well. So, the 10 great vows or the vows from the Dharma class, right? So those we need to fulfill those vows. So it's like we have a mission, right? So we have to accomplish the mission before we can go back. as we talk with Fairy and encourage people, we can discover what their problems are. When we talk with them about the principles, we can get a sense of what is on their mind, their needs, etc. Okay. Yeah. So when we're trying to encourage people, talk to people, we generally talk to them about the principles of Tao, the truth, right? These principles. I mean, some of it might be, we don't want to get to that too abstract where they don't understand it. But, in relation, for example, what's the meaning of life? How we deal with things, following those our virtues, right? But we also need to, we use those methods as opposed to using like other methods where we saying, we can treat your illness or do those types of things, which or give you certain abilities. It's not that. Okay, that's not what this Tao is about. So it's pretty much everyday life stuff. The how we deal with people, how we deal with situations, how we deal with ourselves, and then we have to listen to what's on their mind, right, and understand them. That's how we can tanchen, or encourage people. It's very important. It's kind of two-way. We can't just tell them stuff, but if we don't understand where they're coming from, what their mindset is, then it's hard to get them to understand us. All right. To be able to come to this turbid, defiled world and cultivate a noble and upright moral character is called the skill or ability of, I guess this phrase is, the lotus growing in the midst of fire. Okay, so it's basically like a trial by fire, right? You get put into this world, this situation, and you have to deal with it. And so this world is, from the Buddhist point of view, it's like it's turbid, it's defiled, all these things, right? But then to be able to come out of it as a noble and upright having a moral character, so that would be different, right? As opposed to going with the flow with society, flow with everyone else, and doing the things that everyone does, then we also become defiled. So if we can keep ourselves pure, in essence, despite this world being, defiled, that's something different. Okay, so that's the way of the saints and Buddhas, right? Okay, if we can't cultivate and propagate Tao, then we cannot attain Buddhahood. Okay, so very important. We have to cultivate. It's not like just receiving the three treasures, receiving the Tao. That's not enough. Okay, that's insufficient. All right, so we still have to cultivate, practice. All right, the three treasures is a requirement, but then we need, that's just like the first step, the basic step. Then we still need to cultivate, perform merits, develop our virtues. Okay, so that is the only way, is really, there's no other way, all right? So if we conquer other people, then we are heroes, but if we conquer ourselves, then we are saints and sages, right? Yeah. There are many heroes in the world, but very few saints and sages, because it's easier to conquer others as opposed to conquer our own self, right? We have to overcome our ego, overcome our desires, our attachments, all these things. That's very hard to do. We tend to kind of focus outward and try to deal with the things outside, but not ourselves. Who wants to change their habits, right? Who wants to change their temperament? It's very difficult. But actually, if we set our mind to it, we can do it, okay? And so that is really, that's part of cultivation. We must be able to do that. If we can't do that, even if we can conquer other people, it's useless, okay? Conquering other people, actually, tends not to be good. You create bad karma with others, okay? If we perform heaven's and Buddha's work, then we are Buddhas. But if we are performing mundane work, then we are just mundane people. So it depends on what we do, right? Then that's what we are, right? We are what we do, I guess. So if we are acting like a Buddha, we are performing the works of a Buddha, then we are Buddha, essentially. So that's, so like basically the first, you can say the first vow in the Dharma class, right? You can say is this, we do things like a Buddha, then that's emphasizing the spiritual stuff as opposed to being mundane. To be humble and low key is the Tao, yeah. So the Tao is, it's like water, right? You talk about the virtues of water, right? The water is always flows to the lowest area, the lowest position, and so that's like being humble, low key. So that we have to be humble. We can't be like we can't be arrogant. Say, I know all these principles, I know all this stuff. Or I can, because I've cultivated so well, I don't have to sleep, I don't have to eat. We can't be like that. Okay, so it's always very humble, right? Okay, this so bigger. Okay, so this is another different one. Okay, so so these are kind of different. This isn't like one topic that it's talking about. So there's various different collections of guidance here, words. Okay, so here it says, these are the end times. Everything has been arranged by heaven. He's talking about the three Buddhas, the Maitreya Buddha, Happy Buddha, Jigong Buddha, and Yehoi Bodhisattva. Okay, why is Maitreya the patriarch, right? He's the grand patriarch in this white era, okay? So the 17th patriarch. Is it because he's fat? Right. No, it's because he's tolerant and magnanimous, because that's his quality, okay? During the end times, if we do not have any great tolerance and magnanimity, then we cannot pass the wisdom trials, okay? So this is also, during this white era is the time of these wisdom trials, tests, okay? Test our wisdom, right? So that's, the prajna, so that's very important that we have, try to develop that wisdom, okay? So that we can pass these tests. So one way to do it is to have great tolerance and magnanimity. So a lot of times we're reluctant to give up or lose something. So we have to be very tolerant, forgiving, right? And be magnanimous, very generous in our kindness and mercy. Okay, so if we do that, then of course we can pass these trials, because those are the way of the Buddha, right? Okay, so why does Maitreya hold the heavenly post? Right, he's got the heavenly post during this time. He's in charge of all the heavenly affairs or universal affairs. Because people today are under a lot of stress and pressure, right? Sentient beings are too lost and ignorant, right? Maitreya holds the heavenly post so that people can be happy, right? He wants to create this paradise, right, in the world. If we feel low-spirited or depressed, as if there is no hope, then we should read the books that provide encouragement. So, try to be positive. Right? Every day when we get up, breathe fresh air, think to ourselves that today we can carry out the affairs of Tao. So we are truly blessed and happy, right? So we should seize every moment. Every day that we're alive, we shouldn't waste that time, all right? So we should cultivate, we should do what we need to do to help not just ourselves be happy, but to help others, all sentient beings. We shouldn't feel bad just because we weren't treated well, right? We still must cultivate Tao and bring happiness to others. When others do not cultivate, we shouldn't follow them and be dejected or low-spirited again. So, again, don't be, influenced by the negative. We should try to then, so we should always have that determination, that will to cultivate no matter what. And then also try to help those actually who maybe they feel dejected and dispirited, to help them regain their footing, and so that they continue to cultivate as well, right? And then he says, why am I Jigong, your teacher, right? And during these times, unless we are a bit crazy, it is difficult to pass the time, right? So of course, he's the, quote unquote the crazy monk, right? I guess he was a crazy monk back then in Song Dynasty, but yeah, his very, very different. Okay, he's unconventional. Let's put it that way. But he's using his wisdom using various ways to try to connect, establish good affinity with people, to try to help people. Okay, so he uses all sorts of different ways, humor or whatever, any kind of ways. So that's so it's very flexible, you can say. And we also have to be flexible in our dealings with situations. We can't be very firm. It's like, it's got to be like this, right? So we have to also know how to. So that again uses our wisdom, how to apply the principles, which don't change. The principles don't change, but how to apply them in different situations. Okay, and so sometimes we have to be flexible. Sometimes we can't. It's not about being right and wrong. It's about being harmonious. Is really the way to go about it. All right. Okay, so why is Yerhui Bodhisattva the Sumu or matriarch during this time? Right, because during the end times, we must use gentleness to overcome the hard and unyielding. So, whereas, so our holy teacher, Jigong Buddha, represents like the sun, okay, so it's very visible. But our Sumu, matriarch, represents the moon, so it's like subtle, and gentle, right? The light is not so harsh from the moon. So we have to be gentle to overcome the hard, right? In the Tao Te Ching, right, the Book of the Way and Virtue also talks about that you use the gentleness to overcome anything that's firm or hard, okay, rigid, yeah. So just like I guess our grand predecessor, has said, right, when we get old, right, we lose our teeth first before the tongue is. We don't lose our tongue, right? We lose our teeth because they're hard, but our tongue is soft. Okay, so the soft will overcome the hard. Okay, yeah. So water, right? Water is soft, and yet you can use water, albeit under high pressure, to punch a hole through a steel plate. Yeah, so they do that. They use that. So it's very interesting. Yeah. So these are these three Buddhas. Okay. Also, it says must be flexible, resilient, and accommodating like water. Yeah. Okay. So these three Buddhas placed on the altar are not because of tradition or forms, but there is a reason for this. So it's kind of we have to understand their qualities. We see their qualities and emulate their qualities, right? Their virtues. During these times, what has been arranged by Lamu, God in heaven, Heavenly Mother, has its meaning. Sometimes it is better to be a bit crazy. Great wisdom looks foolish, right? Sometimes, from the society's point of view, they may think, you're stupid for giving up all the, the wealth and not pursuing these things. But actually, that it's the wise choice in terms of from the spiritual point of view. Performing Tao affairs every day, passing each day a bit crazily without fussing over things, right? So and to be able to perform merits and fulfill vows and pass the time happily. These are good times, yeah. So, don't take all these things too seriously, these mundane things. What's more important is that, we received the Tao, we're cultivating, we're performing merits, all these things, we have virtues, then it doesn't matter when we go. When we leave this world, we know that we can transcend this cycle of reincarnation, okay, this transcend the samsara. So that we should be happy, right? So it doesn't matter really what goes on here in this world, right? Okay. So here's some different, okay, so now these are like, okay, so the way to settle down and get on with one's pursuit is by not having any erroneous pursuits to settle the heart and mind, and by not doing erroneous things to settle the body. Okay, so basically, we shouldn't do what we should avoid doing things that we should not do, or say things that we should not say, or think things that we should not think, right? Things that would go, for example, against our conscience, or we're not following the principles. So we should basically follow our conscience, follow that true heart. Okay. So that's how we can have generally a calm mind and body. Okay. To attain the result of success and a hearty laugh requires diligent plowing and weeding. In other words, cultivation. So again, if we want to be successful, we have to put in the work, put in the effort to cultivate, okay, and to ultimately be happy, right? Hope can be entrusted to tomorrow, but we must live up to the promise of today. If we do not practice today, then we will regret it tomorrow, right? If we don't do it now, then we will regret it the next moment. Again, you know, we always hope about the future, but really we're not living up to today, this moment. So we need to remind ourselves to, be diligent in doing what we need to do each moment, right? Don't put things off. If we put things off, we tend to regret it when the time comes, and then we lose that opportunity to do something. Then that the regret is it's too late. Okay, so again, seize the moment. We actually cultivating in the Tao is to be in every moment, to live in that, be in that moment. Okay. When we are loyal to the max, then we have a sense of duty towards all matters, right? When we are forgiving to the max, then we will not find offense with anyone we meet. That's true, right? So again, loyal to the max, so basically, we have this sense of duty of doing things. And we do things, not just, someone told me to ask me to do this, and I just kind of do it, perfunctorily, okay? I do it, out of really a sense of duty that, and we do it well. We do it well, okay? So we don't just, like sometimes, sometimes like kids, say, do it, and it's, they don't want to do it. They just, they'll just do it just to, because they were told to. But we should do everything, sincerely, in other words, okay? And then, of course, the forgiving side, again, if we can forgive others, then we will not take offense, okay? We can say, it's no big deal, no problem. Then, of course, when we deal with people that way, then we never create bad karma with people or affinity with people, okay? Cultivating the true nature and fulfilling the mission is to cultivate the original nature of what we say prior heaven. That's the original, the heaven where we come from. Or our original state, and to fulfill our mission in this world, right? So we have to, the original nature or Buddha nature is, you can say it's kind of perfect already, so that it doesn't require cultivation, but we're cultivating our mind, our spirit to follow that, to be like that, to be one with our Buddha nature, okay? And then, of course, we have to fulfill this mission in this world as well, whatever mission we have. So one mission is, of course, we have to return ourselves, but then the second mission is to help others to return back to heaven. Okay. Sincerity and recognizing the truth are necessary and essential in cultivation, right? So remember that sincerity, again, is showing our true self, okay? Being true to ourselves and others, and we have to know what the truth is. So distinguishing what's true and what's false. So just heard earlier about, all forms are essentially false. They're impermanent. So we shouldn't become attached to those, right? So we should understand what is really true. And our Buddha nature, our essence, that's true. It's eternal. And so that's you can say our spiritual life is that. So we should recognize that our spiritual life is true, not this physical life, right? So that's really what's more important. Okay, so in our cultivation, then if we understand these two, right, then we will cultivate along the right path. Maitreya's Pure Land connotes harmony and oneness, consideration for others, and mutual aid. Yeah, so that's what the Maitreya's paradise that he wants to establish, right, in this world. Basically, everyone is where everyone is in harmony, and they all have the same mind, right, mindset. Essentially, everyone is of one mind about what should be done or how we should deal with people and ourselves, etc. Right, so it's always having consideration for others. That's and always helping each other. Okay. So that would be a paradise, right? There's no conflict. Okay. Okay, so our thoughts and mindset are very important. We always think that we are fortunate or blessed, then we will attract fortune and blessing to us, right? So, good thoughts attract good, you can say, positive thoughts attract positive energy, right? And perform more good deeds and accumulate more virtue, right? When we go anywhere, we will be blessed, right? We must learn to say good words and find the good in others. When we have time, we should listen to the Dharma and true principles. When we have listened, then we will understand. When we understand, then we will not err. We will not make mistakes. Okay, so So again, the attraction. There is this natural force that attracts. So like attracts like. If we think good, positive, then we attract good and positive. So of course, our life will be more blessed, fortunate. But if we keep thinking negative, bad, then we attract the negative and bad to us, and so our life is going to be kind of miserable. So that's why it's always, I say, think positive, and turn our mind around when we feel or we're thinking in a negative or bad way. Then we have to turn that around, really. All right. To accumulate Tao is to follow the flow of affinity and seize the moment, right? To cultivate Tao, so the flow of affinity, right? This is Sui Yan. I mean, it's basically, it doesn't mean to follow the flow of like the mundane, what most people, the common, people do. It's following affinity. So we don't force anything. We shouldn't force, right? In what we do, we shouldn't have to force anything to happen. All right, we just kind of go with the flow. So if someone doesn't want it, then that's fine. We don't push, we don't force them. And also, again, remember earlier we talked about seizing the moment, always taking advantage of every moment to do what we need to do or say what we need to say. All right. Okay. So, that flow of affinity, it's also, there's a timing aspect of things. People may not be, ultimately everyone, all sentient beings are Buddhas. They have the Buddha nature, but, it's a question of there's the conditions and the timing, whether it's right yet, whether they're ready. Okay. If they're not ready, there's no way you can force them to do anything, right? To receive the Tao or whatever, right? It's useless. So, all you can do is try to establish, so their affinity, you establish a good affinity with them and gradually kind of encourage them towards that path, all right? So that one day, and maybe sooner, that they will reach, the timing will be, it'll ripen, so to speak. Their affinity will ripen where they can enter this path, okay? It is difficult for one person to satisfy a multitude of people's intentions, but it is also difficult for a multitude of people to be of one mind. That's true. That's generally right. We can't satisfy everyone's, what everyone wants. But at the same time, it's, everyone they have different ideas, different ways of thinking, what they want to do. So that's also difficult. We must reject all Dharma forms, the phenomena world. We must not be involved in any bad behavior, conduct. A day of performing merits is a day of merits gained. A day wasted is a day lost, right? This is common, wisdom that we hear, right? So we shouldn't waste, every opportunity that we have, we should try to seize it, okay? Especially in performing merits, because we don't want to end up in a, we think everything is fine. It's like, oh, we're healthy, everything's good. But then the next day, we find out whether an accident happens to us because of our karma, or we get, find out we have cancer. Again, this is all due to karma. This can happen at any time, and we won't, we were unprepared for that. Okay, and so when that happens, though, then it's difficult to try to perform merits, do good deeds, things like that. Maybe we end up in a hospital bed, or we become paralyzed, or whatever. All these things if these things happen, then it's more difficult. So that's why we should take advantage of this time when we are able to do things, that we do it. All right. So a heart and mind of truth and principles is emphasizing the spiritual over the mundane, right? So it's like the first treasure. I mean, the first the vow in the Dharma class, right? A heart and mind that seeks benefits is emphasizing the mundane over spiritual, right? So if we follow the truth and principles, basically, that is, we would be helping be of benefit to others. Then that is emphasizing the spiritual aspect. But if we seek benefit for ourselves, right, then that is emphasizing the mundane. Okay, so basically, another way to look at it is if we are unselfish, selfless, that is the spiritual. Whereas if we are selfish, right, seeking things for ourselves, then that is the mundane. Okay. A day without mistakes is merit. Okay, so if we can go through a whole day without doing anything wrong, or saying anything wrong, or thinking anything wrong, hey, we have merit. Okay, a day without faults is virtue. Okay, so without any faults, yeah. So this is saying, but it's hard. Actually, it's hard. I mean, every day we who knows how many little things. They might be little things that we do wrong, say wrong, or etc. And so those are we getting demerits. So yeah. A proper thought wards off hundreds of evils. An improper thought invites thousands of evils. So yeah, our thoughts, we have to be very careful with our thoughts. Always think positive and always think for the good of others. Then the evil we will not attract the evil. Okay, so and then they might even want to help us. Okay, so but having an improper thought, then that invites the evils to come in. So as cultivators, basically we can ward off, right, the hold off the karmic debt collectors, if you will, coming to collect our debts. But if we at any time there's a misstep on our part, or we leave an opening for them to come, then they will take advantage of that. And basically, there's stories like this. He was I think it was a temple master in Taiwan, right? So he was in this temple in the north of Taiwan, and then because of differences that he had with the people there, or the transmitting master, he decided to go to the south of Taiwan, or somewhere else. But then, after a little while, then there's a temple there, but he didn't go to the temple. But as soon as he did that, right, his karmic debtors came, debt collectors came and got it, found him. So basically, we have to always be in the Tao, basically, or always cultivating. If we are always cultivating, and our mindset is right, then they will not have a chance to get us. All right. So even though we still owe the debts, but as long as we're cultivating, performing merits, we can pay off those debts. Right. Our holy teacher negotiates for us to help pay off our debts with them. So, all right. And improper thought can lead to many evil deeds. A compassionate thought leads to a lifetime of practicing the Buddha's teachings. So again, we have to, have the right thoughts, have those compassionate, merciful thoughts to be like a Buddha. A good, kind thought that rises to heaven is a Buddha saint. An evil thought is meeting the devil in hell. Right? So yeah. So again, everything is in the mind. Is very, very. We have to be very careful. All right. A day without this is a repeat. Okay. Sorry. A repentant heart mind results in ridding millions of calamities. Yeah, repentance is also very important. That we truly repent, meaning that we don't commit the sin or the mistake again, right? That can get rid of all sorts of calamities. So that's so that every day we should try to, even though we don't know maybe what we did in the past lives. That we should always, anything that comes up, we should always be repentant. Ideally, we should be repentant all the times to prevent those things. We don't want to wait until something happens to us and then we repent. It may be too late, but but probably not necessarily. I mean, always having that repentant heart and mind is can change things, okay, for the better. A deed of the greatest value is one that benefits sentient beings, right? Of course. So, anything that we can do for sentient beings will be worth more than anything that we do for ourselves. Okay, so it should be, we should always try to think of doing things that will also help others. Okay. A person who is constantly alert, right, to one's thoughts, words, and actions, and does not forgive oneself will always succeed in any task. So this kind of alluding to the competitive spirit I said earlier, that we don't forgive ourselves. Basically, we push ourselves, right? We always push ourselves to the limit, then we can always succeed, right? We say, I did something wrong, or I don't know how to do it, and I make excuses, right? Then we're not going to succeed. So we should always try to keep push ourselves to succeed, right? Okay. If we are very merciful, then every year is a good year, and every day is a good day. Heaven and hell are not places to go after we die, right? So most people in religion, they think, where do we go when we die? But actually, heaven and hell is right here. Okay, if we are steeped in the three poisons, right, which is greed, anger, or rage, and ignorance, or attachments, then we are in hell. Okay, so that's why the three poisons, very important that we get rid of those three poisons. They're all in the mind. Okay, and all of Buddha's teachings is about getting rid of these three poisons, really. Okay, so if our every thought and intention is for the benefit of sentient beings, and we perform the works of Buddha, then we are living a Buddha. Okay, so heaven in this world is in our state of mind. If we have a merciful, compassionate state of mind, always wanting to benefit others, then we are always living in heaven. Right? If our mind is dwelling in the three poisons, always wanting to get what others have, right? Always becoming angry, never accepting or understanding the principles, then we are always living in hell. Okay, so that's from the Buddha's point of view. Most people, a lot of people, because they're ignorant, that they don't accept or understand the principles, they think that what they're doing is heaven, when they have they live in a mansion, they drive nice cars, etc. But that's not the case, right? Because they're creating karma, all right? Okay, so that's not the enlightened way. All right, let's see. Okay, so that's that. Let me see. There's another, where's the other thing here? Whoops. Okay. There are a couple other things here. Oh, okay. So, basically here it says, Holy Teacher Jigong Buddha's merciful guidance asks of oneself to do these 5 things every day, right? We say words of blessings or good words to others. We transmit positive energy and good deeds, right? It says give a little more care to family members. Put in one's best effort at work, what we do. Give oneself words of encouragement. So we also sometimes we need to encourage ourselves, right? Sometimes when we're feeling so much pressure, so much frustration, we need to also encourage ourselves too. Okay, so these kind of 5 things that we can do every day. Let's see. It's also Holy Teacher says disciples, says you don't realize how much red ink you have in your merit and demerit record in heaven. Okay, so there's the Buddha's that. Everything that we do, it's being recorded, okay? So whether we do good, we do bad, right? That's all recorded. And he's saying that we don't realize how much bad we're doing, all right? Things that we're not supposed to be doing, okay? And it says one day it'll be too late to plead with him and to regret it, all right? So it says, why don't we say more good words, encouraging words, words to help fairy people, and merciful and caring, considerate words, instead of doing and saying things that heaven does not approve of. Okay, so again, it's just reminding us, we should, if we do those, we're actually accumulating a lot of demerits. Okay, if we're not careful. Okay, so actually, right. So, Jocelyn, okay, so they're going to do the ceremony now, the receiving the Tao, so you can go follow. Okay, thank you. Okay. South Pole Longevity Buddha. He says, right, people know only to plan for a happy and satisfactory life while they are alive, right? But very few people think about where their soul will go after death, right? So that's the mundane view, is like, oh, it's just, this is my existence. I want to make the most of this, existence. But I don't care or think about what's going to happen after. So that's, mundane versus the spiritual. And then people always lament the passing of the days, months, and years, growing old without accomplishing anything. But who actually reflects on the days, months, and years, whether they have accumulated merits, virtues, and performed good deeds in charity, right? They don't think about that. It's like, oh, I could have made more money today or this year. They think about that as opposed to, did I do good deeds? I could have done more, right? So, or did some charity, So again, this is the difference between the mundane and, the spiritual. So that first vow in the, that Dharma class this is the difference here, that we want to look more at the spiritual side, not the mundane stuff. And I think this is probably the last one. Okay, so this is from the Chief Examiner of Three Realms. Says, he's talking about these four, right? The four evil, evils from the speech, right, from the mouth. And it says abusive language, right? Causes one to become more vulgar. Okay, yeah. Double tongue, right? 两舌 causes one to have more distance, to be more distant from others, because we're saying things like behind people's backs, or saying bad things about this person to others, so that kind of people stay away. Improper remarks causes one to be full of evil energy. Okay, so the improper remarks is the qi. Okay, yeah, saying things that we shouldn't say. And then false speech, or lying, causes others to have suspicions and doubts, right? Because they can't trust what we're saying, right? So that's pretty obvious. So, and then here it says, shu, okay, this cultivate is the guanzao, is to basically, you can say, it's kind of reflect on ourselves, our true selves, okay? And then qi, okay, and then so it says, cultivate is to be, or you can say to be enlightened or awakened. Throw away the transient, that which has beginning and end, and hold on to the true and eternal, and then our Buddha nature appears in whole, okay, appears. And when we practice, well, it's actually, we usually use together shuxing, right, as the cultivation practice, sujen. So we have to practice to carry it out, right, to change bad habits and get rid of our bad temper, leave not one bit of the human heart. So this human, right, we have to have that Buddha heart, the Bodhi heart mind, right? So try to get rid of all those human attachments and desires, okay? And so this is part of basically the cultivation and practice, is to do that, and that's the goal, okay? Then we are manifesting our Buddha nature, our true nature, right? Okay, so that's it. So these are various, guidance and things like that from our holy teacher and some Buddhas and saints. They're all basically saying the same thing. We have to cultivate, okay? We have to understand the principles to cultivate, right? We can cultivate, so quote unquote practice, but if we don't practice following those principles, then we're going in the wrong direction, and that's all going to be for naught in the end too. So that's why it's important, if we don't understand or know a lot, to come to the temple to learn the principles, and then to develop our wisdom by getting rid of our attachments and changing our fault, our bad habits and bad temper. Not follow our emotions. Basically, a lot of times people deal with things with emotion. We should not do that. If we can get rid of those things, then that wisdom naturally is there, and it will guide us in dealing with whatever the situation requires. Okay. So that's basically it. I don't know. Anyone have any comments or questions? Yeah.
I have a comment. We refer all the time to karma
Yeah.
as it being something bad.
Yeah. It could be good too. Yeah. I mean, karma is a neutral word, but we tend to, because no one wants bad karma. Right? They think good karma is good, but actually, good karma is still in the cycle of reincarnation. I mean, you're getting karmic blessings, right? The good in the future, but that's in this world as well. So that means, who wants to? If we become, if we are awakened, right? Then ideally we want to transcend this cycle of samsara, because all karma is, whether good or bad, is within this cycle of samsara, okay, within that reincarnation cycle. So we can, yes, come back in a future life to receive, so those people maybe like Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, these people, they've earned their wealth in this life, but it was actually the seeds of the karma, the good karma was planted in previous life where they were they did a lot of charity. And that's why it's come back to them in this life, okay, in terms of what, in the form of wealth, okay. But although that's good, I mean, for most people, they say, hey, yeah, why not? But that's still, unless, the problem is, so this is where you can say you have the test of where things are going well. So yeah, if you have the good life, then you wouldn't think to want to cultivate, to give up stuff, right? So that for a cultivator, it's also a type of test, right? To say, well, if I make a lot of money, if I have all the things that I need, then why do I need to come to temple? Why do I need to do bows? Why do I need to become a vegetarian? Why don't I enjoy all the all the foods there is, right? So then it's harder to achieve, or so basically we wouldn't want to cultivate. So a lot of times we try to introduce Tao to people who are well off. For them it's like, why? Yeah.
Because they're attached.
Yeah, they're attached to their
things.
Yeah,
And because they think that's real, right? That's they think they're happy. they're truly happy.
Right. But it's temporary only. See.
Right. So they don't understand the
big picture, right? They don't see
the
the
present.
Yeah.
Say, hey, I have everything. I want more. They become attached.
Right.
So the rich gets richer, right?
Right.
So they become, and guess what?
Well,
In that process of doing all that,
right.
you create karma.
Yeah. So
And then the
maybe
next time-
right in the next life, then it's not going to be as good, right? Because either they've spent all their wealth, they've already used it all up, that good fortune. In the next life, maybe they were wasteful, right? And in the next life, or they, of course, they're probably eating meat, then they're killing sentient beings. In the next life, they're going to have to suffer for that, right? So it comes back around. So that's, so that's why those who are ignorant, so to speak, and don't understand the principle, or don't accept that principle of, the cause and effect, causality and karma, then they will forever, continuously commit those create karma, commit sins, and they will forever be in that cycle. Okay, so that's why that awakening is awakening to the truth, awakening to the principles, that we understand it, then we will know how to break that cycle, right? We end it. And that's the only way out. That's the only way out. Okay.
So if you're born, you already have karma, because we are born in this birth.
Yeah, the 12 links, right? We talked
Yeah.
about the
So
12
once
links.
you have no more karma, you reach that level that.
Yeah, if there's no more karma, then there's no reason to be here, really. Unless we make a vow, like we make Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, they make vows to come down to help sentient beings. Other than that, there's no, we're free. We're essentially free from, we have no attachment to this world.
Time of the birth.
Yeah,
So right now, what we're doing is trying to reduce what we have. We owe to reduce as much.
yeah,
Yeah, but how do you reduce, right?
right. So,
We have to do merits,
Yeah,
or virtuous
yeah, virtuous merits. Yeah.
unconditional merits.
Right.
Like non-conditional.
Yeah.
To me, it takes a lot of maturity.
Maturity. Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Understanding, awakening. You awake to your awaken to our Bodhi mind, not to the human mind, because the human mind, you're gonna do reason. You're gonna say
Yeah,
reason. You're gonna
try
find
to
a
reason.
cause,
Right,
or
right.
find a reason,
Right,
motivation,
right,
whatever.
right.
You know, to say, hey, I gotta do this because. That's conditional.
Yeah.
That's still within the cycle. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So you gotta break through that cycle. So that's not the easy part.
Right.
Right, so if you like do the cleaning or something with the temple, I'm cleaning, but do not even think about why I'm cleaning. Just do it.
Well, not just that, but not doing it to say that you are going to get
Right, no,
something
just
for
do it. You see something that's dirty, just clean it. If you see something needs to pick it up, just do it. Don't even think about it.
Right. Yeah. So.
Spontaneous.
Right.
Say
Right.
spontaneous.
Right. So we should still also not, have attachments to merits or all these things. Merits are also forms. Okay. So not.
The Heart Sutra taught that about in, right?
Yeah,
No,
not-
no attainment.
Yeah.
No nirvana. What's
Right. Right. So it's not like, oh, I want to achieve nirvana, but it's actually, the Buddha, right? Buddha himself.
Just think of that.
Right. He's
You
thinking
have
that.
not reached.
Right. He hasn't reached it yet. So same thing.
That's kinda weird.
Right. So it's yeah. It just is. Right. It just is. So.
Don't think about it.
No, not that's why Jesus. And they say, "Oh, are you son of God?"
No. He
He
didn't.
can't say that.
Yeah.
He can't say it, because if you are, then that means you still have that cleaning. You still cling to that thought.
Yeah.
Get it? Ah. So be careful when somebody prays you. Say, "Oh, you are enlightened." You can say, "Yeah." Oh, you're not. You're not. Isn't that amazing? Right? Isn't that right?
Yeah.
So that's why Lao Tzu also say in the classic of the way and virtue goes, but the person who knows speaks not.
Yeah. He
The
doesn't
person
say.
who speaks
Doesn't
knows
know.
not.
He doesn't know. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Right.
Very
Yeah.
interesting.
So that's what, yeah, being humble, right? You can say implies that we should not, say, oh, what I know or whatever. So
Is Jesus a vegan?
I don't know. It's hard to say, but I mean,
I think
the principles that he talks about-
I think that he was, right?
Yeah,
you should be.
Yeah.
Because there's no specific mention that he
Right.
ate
the
the
fish or
and he
yeah,
just
no one
walked
said
in.
that. Yeah.
There's
Right.
no specific mention.
Right.
So that's the weird thing. Or the Last Supper.
Yeah. Right. They didn't say what they were eating.
Let's break out a last feast, man. Come on, Jesus, come on. You're gonna be dying on the cross, so eat up, man. Come on.
But then at that feast, what did he eat? At the bitter, what's it called? So
Huh?
the
They ate bread, unleavened bread, and then
something.
Oh,
Something like it's something like
myrrh? No, not myrrh.
what you call it?
Variety.
It's not Karela. It's something like watercress, something like watercress. Like, yeah. So, but it was bitter. Alright? And I don't know why it is such a big question, because it never said all the time about food. It never said that he's eaten. When that ceremony on the Mount Olive, I think they said, and he continued teaching. That means you see him still going around speaking while people eating. So he didn't stop to eat anything.
yeah.
Early on, you were speaking about yeah, when people were actually people who think when they die we are
Oh,
going,
right.
So, and this is a big thing, because most people they don't believe in karma. They don't believe
Right.
when they die they think that this life is the only
Yeah.
life
That's
that they have.
yeah. That's the end. Yeah.
You know?
That's called existential.
Right.
Yeah, so and it's so hard to speak to people about these things. Because, I don't believe in karma. And, when I die, I could go and if I repent my sins, I could go to heaven. But
Well, that's what Christians
Well, that yeah.
but
or Muslims.
or that's the worst part, because you could go and kill a lot of people and then expect to go to heaven. I don't understand those things.
Yeah. So they didn't. Unfortunately, in those, I guess. I mean, it's not maybe emphasized so much in their teachings about not killing, or compassion. I mean, they do talk about brotherhood, compassion, that kind of stuff, but still, I don't know. They
It's
don't.
not on animals.
It's they exclude
Oh,
animals.
definitely animals.
I mean,
But even in the Gospels. right?
yeah. I think Paul, his letter he wrote, he
Yeah.
says that you have to treat our brethren. He calls the brothers the animals, or like the brothers. Yeah.
I mean, Saint Francis of Assisi. Saint Francis of Assisi. Anybody know?
Yeah.
Saint Francis
Right.
of Assisi.
Yeah. He's a
He's
vegetarian.
called he's a vegetarian.
Yeah.
They call him what? The patron saint of what?
The animals.
Animals. Supposedly he has.
He can communicate here.
Yeah, he
Right?
can communicate with animals. Whoa.
Yeah.
Hey, that's what the Catholic says, okay? I'm not Catholic. I'm saying what they say, okay? Catholics say that. So even the Gospels, the story of Jesus Christ getting baptized by John the Baptist. Even John the Baptist talked about reincarnation. People don't know that, right? Elijah, right? Elijah. So it's because when they created the Bible, when they put together, they call it the Bible, Constantine. They decide to pick and choose.
Yeah. Right.
Say, oh, okay, well this concept is kind of weird, so we're gonna exclude it. You know that? Yeah. So that's why we have this Bible. And then they exclude a lot of Gospels. Gospel of Thomas, Gospel of Mary Magdalene. Yeah, all that. The Essenes, right? The Essene, Gnostic Gospels. They exclude it because they said they're considered like very
Not conducive.
yeah, no. They're like minority view or something like that. Or I don't want to say extreme view. But Kabbalah, anybody know what Kabbalah is? Kabbalah
Yeah.
is very mystical. It's very similar. I mean, Patrick,
Yeah.
the Democrat, he searched, man. He went to India, he went to Nepal, India, Tibet, searching, with the Dalai Lama and all that stuff. Anyway, yeah, but Kabbalah is very mystical.
Yeah.
They talk about reincarnation and all that stuff. Whoa, yeah, scary.
How about the prophets? Sorry.
Oh yeah, the prophets. Yeah, they talk about reincarnation. Yeah, in the Old Testament.
Yeah.
You go to, what's that? Well, Elijah, all that, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, all those in the Old Testament, all those Samuels, all those. They do talk about future, what's that? Coming,
Right.
prophets or whoever. So why does it work for the prophets and not for anybody else? Hello? Doesn't make sense.
Right. Yeah. Yep. Okay. So.
The Jews, they talk a lot about the prophets coming back. So coming back means reincarnated, right?
Yeah.
In Israel, Tel Aviv city, they're all vegan.
Yes. So in Israel, a lot of the Christian Jews, they're vegans.
Right.
They do not eat cheese or anything like that.
I mean, they're-
So they-
City.
Yeah.
No, but they eat
Bread.
bread.
Okay, so all right, so that's the end. I asked, thank you. I asked the saints and Buddhas for forgiveness if I had said anything wrong, and I asked transmitters and all of you to correct me if I said